Gentlemen, awesome to be back with you on MGTOW Money. Today's topic, I am a victim. Before we get into that, hey, thank you to the ongoing support from the Patreon investors in this channel. Thank you guys for your ongoing support. God knows I'm not getting anything from Google or anybody else for doing any of this. And, I really appreciate the positive vibes and feedback from you guys. Again, thank you so much, as well as sometimes giving me a swift kick in the ass to do something. All right, let's get into today's topic. I am a victim. Last week when, as I'm sure many of you were doing, we were all celebrating International Women's Day. And of course, I was enjoying Pornhub. I was enjoying some documentaries on male and female relations and that type of thing. But I was thinking about the Me Too movement and how incredibly important it is and profound it is. And I've done videos about this, about how much it's affected my life. I won't go into that in details. You can see those videos. But when I was flipping channels, I happened to come across an interview. It was quite interesting. It was a black woman interviewing a man and a woman, and they were talking about how they were victims and had felt all types of harassment, etc. Now, let me add some detail, though, to this interview. The black woman that was doing the interview is a multi-billionaire with a B. They were being interviewed at, I believe, the $4.5 million home where the husband and wife, the white couple, live. And oh, by the way, it's, of course, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, maybe I should say former Prince and Princess of England. And of course, they're describing the harassment and the stress and of course the quote unquote alleged, underlying racism that she incurred when she was a quote princess. So of course, she's a victim, right? There's no other way, any other way to put it. She is a victim. Now, I want to tie into this in terms of women, and specifically how women really are victims and how the Me Too movement symbolizes women and how, most importantly, Meghan Markle is the prototypical woman in the Western world. She is the archetype. She is sort of the feminist, if you will, hero of postmodernism feminism. And I'm going to get into that in just a second in 3 ways that you need to think about. Before I get into that, I want to mention today's sponsor and thank them. Webull is awesome, you guys. I'm telling you. Go right now to the video description today. Open up an account with Webull right now. It costs you nothing. They'll throw you a free share of stock just for opening an account. You throw in $100, you can get an additional free share of stock. 2 free shares of stock, $100. Some stock that I have gotten for free are stocks like Snap. I've gotten stock in Levi's, the apparel manufacturer. I've gotten stock in Ford. I've gotten stock in Nvidia. They make the high speed gaming chips, etc. That's just a few of the stocks I've gotten. And by the way, that Snap, I think it's tripled or quadrupled since they gave it to me. So anyway, it's been pretty good. Anyway, point is, man, go to the video description today. It costs you nothing simply to open up an account. You put in $100, you get an additional $100. You get an additional share of stock, and you can take the money out whenever you want. All right, again, go to the video description today. Open your account with Webull right now. On today's topic, all right, as always, men, this is the Pareto principle. We're talking about the 80-20 rule. I'm not talking about every single woman, all 4 billion plus throughout the world. Inevitably, you could point out and you could say, well, that doesn't apply to this particular woman. I get it. Let's do 4 out of 5, shall we? 80%. All right, look, 80% of women do not want to take any responsibility for anything. I mean, zero responsibility. How many times have you ever heard a woman say, I'm responsible, I did it, I caused that, that's my mistake, etc.? It is extremely unusual. And correspondingly, on the other hand, I've heard a lot of men, and certainly myself, have said, man, I screwed up. I made a mistake. My bad. I'm sorry. I did something wrong. Women inevitably, many times, and certainly in today's society, especially in Western society, are victims. I mean, they are almost consistently victims where they don't have any sort of what could be called locus of control. They have no agency. Things are just forced on them. It's all coercion. I heard one woman referencing that, quote, she had been digitally brainwashed to get involved in some of the Capitol Hill protests in January and that type of thing. Yeah, gentlemen, she had been digitally brainwashed. I wonder if something similar might have happened to Stormy Daniels, who, of course, I mentioned in the past in a prior video when she was allegedly, of course, Stormy Daniels, the porn actress who was, quote unquote, sexually harassed by former President Donald Trump. So again, zero responsibility. That's what you can expect from most women. Number two, it's never going to be enough, gentlemen. It's never, ever going to be enough. Nothing is ever going to be good enough for the women that you're around. I'm not talking about that you're in a relationship with. I'm talking about with a mother, a sister, women that you work with, etc. It's all going to be about imaginary perfection. In other words, the world needs to be absolutely perfect, or it's absolutely terrible. It's never going to be good enough. This, to me, is also symptomatic of and leads to and encourages that hypergamy that's been discussed for years among the MGTOW community in terms of, again, a woman is always going to be looking to trade up. She's always going to be looking for something better. Guess what? She's always going to want a larger house. She's always going to want a better car. She's always going to want a man who's more fit, who's more this, who's more that, who's more loving, who's more caring, who's more generous, of course. Again, gentlemen, they're not going to settle. They're not going to just accept as they are, at least certainly up until they probably get hit about age 50. They're not going to just accept what they've been dealt. Complaining, ultimately destruction and divorce is an extremely common tactic of too many women today. Simply moving forward, making do with what you have, being positive is absolutely not the typical woman today's prerogative. All right, lastly, this is extremely important. You may not believe this. Most women are never, ever, I can't emphasize this, going to be happy. Being unhappy seems to be sort of their, I think, built into the female nature. Again, I cannot emphasize enough, I'm not talking about all women all the time throughout the world. Inevitably, there are extremely happy women who lead very satisfied lives. Again, 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10, 800 out of 1,000. Being unhappy is, unfortunately, as I perceive it, having been married, having lived with another woman, having been involved with, frankly, more than my fair share of women, being unhappy is their default setting. It is rare, dare I say it's very rare, where a woman is simply accepting her fate, is being happy about everything that's happened. How many women do you ever hear about that are quote-unquote stoics, that deal with things stoically? Yeah, that's right, probably zero. And by the way, I did a video some years ago about stoicism and how fantastic it is. And by the way, it has been absolutely incredibly invaluable to me dealing over the past year or so in terms of the amount of isolation that I have felt. I tend to be a relatively isolated person anyway, and this has definitely put me at my limit. So needless to say, I would recommend if you're dealing with that, go back and listen to that. But again, happiness is not something that I think comes naturally to women at all. I don't think it comes naturally to human beings in general, but I think unhappiness is an extremely common affliction, and women have an extremely difficult time staying positive, feeling good, and being even reasonably contented. Let me finish by saying, men, you can choose. I cannot emphasize enough. You choose, my friend, how much time you want to spend around women. And again, I'm not talking about intimate relations with women. I'm talking about whether you got a mother, whether you got a sister, whether you have people that at your work, at your school, etc., you can decide. You can make the choice. How much time do you want to spend around them? There are very concrete ways, I've discussed this numerous times in the past, where you can physically separate yourself from them and correspondingly mentally separate yourself from them, and you will, I can virtually promise you, be happier, more contented, and move forward in a positive way with your life, unlike them. Gentlemen, as always, hit the like button if you found this profitable. John Galt, out.